AFL ladder predictions. Now, I did this last year on the channel. I think it was one of the first episodes I did for the podcast. I did my AFL ladder predictions, and I don't think I got one right. Now,
so we know our shit.
Now, obviously, we just do this for a little bit of fun. We're not doing it like too seriously. Like, you know, obviously we want a couple to be right, but at the end of the day, this is just a little bit of fun, just to look at some like potential where teams are going to finish. This year we did use a website called Squiggle, which is actually a really good website to do this sort of ladder predictor. If you guys want to do it with your friends or whatever. Basically, they go through every single game. You can pick the margin of every single game as well, and it's really informative. And so I've done my ladder predictor. I'll go through mine first. Sorry to my brother. This this picture is going to go right in front of his face, but nonetheless, this is my AFL ladder prediction for 2024. So, you can see here I've got West Coast down the bottom with the 1 win, also with North Melbourne, who just beat them on percentage. In 16th, I have Richmond. 15th, I have Essendon. 14th, I have Fremantle. 13th is St Kilda. 12th is Hawthorn. 11th is the Gold Coast Suns. 10th is the Western Bulldogs. 9th are the Giants. And then into the top 8, we have Geelong. In 7th is Port Adelaide. 6th is Melbourne. 5th is Adelaide. 4th is the Sydney Swans. 3rd is Carlton. 2nd is the Brisbane Lions. And up the top, being the minor premiers in my ladder predictor, is Collingwood. So I'll quickly move that. Now, I just wanted to go through a couple of reasons and talking points as to why I've got some teams in certain positions. I did also look as well. I forgot to ask you to do this. Oh, I did actually look for you. No, I didn't. Okay, so you haven't done the ladder prediction, but that's okay. I did actually have a look at the ladder prediction, my ladder predictions this year compared to last year. And at this stage, my biggest movers up, if my ladder predictor was correct 100%, would be that the Crows were my biggest movers up. They've gone from 10th in 2023, and my prediction has gone from 5th. And my biggest team to plummet is St Kilda, from 6th down to 13th. So the first team I wanted to take a look at was Hawthorn. Now, I think Hawthorn have had a lot of hype going through the off-season, picking up maybe Chol, Gunston, Ginnivan. There's one more I'm missing. Can't remember who it is. D'Ambrosio, that's the one. But when looking through their fixture for this year, it's not the easiest draw, but they do have 4 games down in Tassie, and from what I've looked at, they've got a really good record down in Tasmania. So I think they can bank all 4 wins there. Yeah. So that's good for them. There are a lot of in the games that I've picked them to win in 2024. A lot of their wins are very close. So as we saw, Collingwood, for example, if in 2022 when they had that big run of really close games, if you win those games, those close ones, you can set yourself up to be a top 8 team. But if you lose them, you could be sitting down right at the bottom of the ladder. Now, I've given Hawthorn to win a lot more of their games than win a lot of those close games than losing them. So, but I did look at it. If Hawthorn were to win a few more, they could potentially find themselves into 8th spot, because 8th right now in my ladder predictor was Geelong, and Hawthorn are only 2 wins out of that. So if Hawthorn were to get close enough from Geelong, they could scrape into the 8. I doubt it, but that is a potential chance for them. Now, like I said, I don't think they'll make finals, but to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, when I'll go through all my talking points, and then I'll ask you for your opinion on a couple of them, and then we'll go into yours, because I think that'll be... Because yours is... I did look at yours because I got a picture up for it. They're quite different. A lot of, position-wise. I think most of the teams in the 8 and the 10, top 8 and the bottom 10 are pretty similar, but just the positions of both of them are quite different. Yeah. So, after that, I got a Giants. Now, the Giants in my ladder predictor are missing the 8 by 1 win, I believe. No, it's actually just on percentage. So, they are really close. Now... the problem with the Giants is they do have a couple of teams twice which are going to be hard to beat. One of them is the Bulldogs, one of them is Sydney, and another one of them is Carlton. Now, I've put Sydney and Carlton in the top 4. So I think it's going to be very hard to, if they can bank 2 wins against both of them, they make the 8. And the Bulldogs as well is going to be very interesting because I've got them finishing around the mark as well. That's why I'm really, this could go either way. A couple of games that I've given the Giants that, they could lose, like down in Manuka Oval in round 7, they've got the Lions. I've got the Lions just beating them there. A couple of games, they've got Carlton in round 17 down in the Sydney Showground, which is their home ground. And then in the final round as well, they've got the Bulldogs down in Ballarat. So there's a couple of games there where, GWS could snatch a win from them. But they've got a couple of games as well where, there's a couple of ones that could go either way. On the other hand, like they've got the Crows at Adelaide Oval, which is always a hard game. They did lose to West Coast in Perth last year. They do have them in Perth again in round 2, funnily enough. So the Giants, honestly, could go either way. I've got them finishing just outside the 8 on percentage for Geelong. And speaking of Geelong, in my predictions, they scrape into the 8 and they get back into finals. So at the moment, looking at their fixture, Geelong have got, I think, 9 games down in Geelong. And one of them is against the Giants, which they struggle against. I think the Giants have won, 3 in a row now? Or 2 in a row down there?
It's 3, I think.
3 in a row.
I'm pretty sure it's 3, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 3. Other than that game, which could be 50-50, I've actually given the Giants the win in my predictions. Geelong should win all 8 of those games.
Yeah.
That's what I've given them. So basically, they've got 12 wins on my predictions. They need to find 4 more wins in the season to make the 8.
Yeah.
So basically, that's all I've got for Geelong. They've got a lot of games at home. I think as well with the development of their grandstand, I think now they're going to have a lot more there. I think in round 1 they're supposed to play St Kilda at Academia Park, so they're going to have a few more there. Most of the games that they play down in Geelong are the bottom teams as well, so they usually beat up on them. They do have the Crows down there, so they have a really good record against the Crows down there. So I think that's going to be the way that Geelong are going to make it. They just need to bank basically 4 wins in the rest of their season somewhere else. Yeah. Whether that be at the MCG, whether that be away from home, they just need to bank 4 more wins. So I think that can be done.
Yeah.
And one of them obviously is Gather Round. So, Gather Round could be going either way when they play the Bulldogs in round 4. The next one is by the biggest movers, which are the Adelaide Crows. Now, I think the Crows, most people have them going up this year. I think it's pretty safe to say they were obviously robbed of making the finals in 2023, sorry. I'm a Swan supporter. We did have 70 seconds, but at the end of the day, it's kind of got robbed, let's be honest. But yeah, I've got the Crows. They've got 13 games. They've got 13 games at home. They win all of them.
Yeah.
In my predictions. And in my other... They've got 16 wins I've given them for the whole season. They got 13 at the Adelaide Oval. One of them's Gather Round and a couple of showdowns as well. They win 13. I've only given them 3 wins for everywhere else.
Yeah.
So if they can win all their games at Adelaide Oval and then get 4 or 5 wins, they could get top 2. This is how good a season the Crows could have. They finished 5th on my predictions, but they also have a very good start to the season. They could and probably should be 4-0 by the first 4 games, and could honestly be, looking at their predictions, 8-1 heading into the showdown in round 10, and then having the Brisbane Lions they could be 8-1 after the showdown in round 8 with the Power, and then they also have the Lions in round 9. So round 10 they come up against the Collingwood at the MCG, which they nearly beat last year. The only game I have them losing in their first 8 games is against Carlton at Docklands and Fremantle at Perth Stadium. That's the only ones I've got them losing in the first couple of the first 9 rounds. So 2 games. But honestly, they could beat Fremantle in Perth. They didn't have a very good game against West Coast in the last round of the season. So I do give... I think Fremantle are obviously a better side than West Coast. That's why I don't think they're the best team travelling. So, basically, I've only got them... that's the only game I put them underdogs against is Carlton in round 5.
Yeah.
So, and we've seen, if teams can get a good start to the season and get the momentum, they are going to be hard to beat the Crows.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So I've got them 5th at the moment, but like I said, I've only given them 3 wins outside of Adelaide in 2024. So they could easily bank 4 or 5 of those. If they can win half the games they've got away, so 11 games, if they can bank 5 of them, they're teetering on the top 2.
Yeah.
This is the goodest season the Crows can have. They've got a very easy, not an easy run, but they've got a very good start to the season, good half of the season.
And we've seen momentum from last season, how
well, we've got the Giants and Carlton almost to a grand final.
Yeah.
So, momentum can be everything in an AFL season. After that, we've got the Sydney Swans. Now, I've got the Swans making the 4 just, but they do have a pretty tough draw after round 10. So, I have had the Swans 8-2 going into up to round 10. A pretty good start for the Swans. They've got, their only losses I've given them are against Collingwood, and the other one I gave was not the Bulldogs. Who was the other one I gave it? Jesus, who did I give them the loss to? Maybe I only gave them 1 loss.
Bit of bias, I reckon.
Well, alright, in their first 10 rounds, the opening round's really bugging me. Anyway, in their first 10 games, that's what they're probably easy to say, they've got Melbourne at the SCG, I think they can win that. They've got Collingwood at the MCG, I'll give them a loss. Then they've got the Bombers, the Tigers, the Eagles, the Suns, the Hawks, the Giants, and the Dockers.
Yeah.
And they come to Carlton in round 10 with the game at the SCG as well. So, out of those teams, who are they playing that made the finals last year? The Giants, Collingwood, and Melbourne.
Yeah.
They got 3. And against the Giants, that could go either way, honestly. Sydney won, I think. They won one of them last year and should have won the other one. They fucked up and let them kick 4 goals in 4 minutes in the last part of the game, the Swans. But they got the Melbourne at home. They got the Giants at home. They've also got Carlton at home. And they've made it pretty much they're trying to get that fortress of Sydney back. So the only one I've given them a loss to is Collingwood. Now I know I'm a bit biased, like you said, but I try to be as least biased as I can. But then the last 6 to 8 weeks of the season, that's honestly where the Swans could either finish top 4 or they drop down to the middle of the 5th to 8th. That's where I've got at the moment. So they've got the Crows in the final round as well, which could go either way. This is at the SCG, but that could honestly decide a 4th spot.
Yeah.
So that's going to be big for the Crows and the Swans as well. In the final 8 rounds, they've got the Crows in round 24, Bombers round 23, Collingwood round 22, Power round 21, the Bulldogs in round 20, Brisbane in round 19, North in round 18, and St Kilda in round 17.
It's a tough run home.
It's a tough run home for the Swans. So, if they can have that momentum at the start of the season, they could rocket up, or they could kind of stagnate. That's where I've kind of got the Swans at the moment going into 4th spot. So I've given them, Port Adelaide have a really good record against the Swans, unfortunately. The Bulldogs could go either way. Brisbane at the Gabba is almost impossible. They got Collingwood again. I did give them the win against Collingwood in round 22 at the SCG. But again, that could go either way. And then the Crows in round 24 at the SCG, that could go either way as well. So Sydney are definitely iffy. It's a hard one. But that's kind of what I've gone for there. And the final team I'm going to take a look at is Carlton. Now, Carlton, I've got them making in the top 3. So, they don't have the easiest start. But if they continue the form that they had in the 2023 finals, they won't have too many issues. From round 13 to the end of the season, I only see them losing 1 game, which is against Collingwood. Looking at their fixture after round 13, so in round 13 they play Essendon, then they have the bye, and then from round 15 to 24 they have Geelong at the MCG, they win that. Richmond at the MCG, they win that. GWS in the Sydney Showground, I think they can win that. Then they've got the Bulldogs, North Melbourne, Port Adelaide. I think they win all of them. Port Adelaide's in Melbourne, by the way. They've got Collingwood at the MCG. That could go either way. And then the final 3 games, they've got Hawthorn at the MCG, West Coast in Perth, which they'll win, and then they've got St Kilda to finish.
Yeah.
I give them one loss, and even then, they can beat Collingwood.
Yeah.
So, like we said, with momentum, who knows? So that's why basically I've given Carlton a massive run towards finals, and we saw they made it all the way to a prelim off momentum. Imagine if they had the double chance.
Yeah.
They could do anything in 2024, Carlton. So basically, that's all my ladder predictions and my kind of breakdown of it.